Hi everyone. Can you all hear me? All right. Okay. I guess I'll start off. Sorry for being a few minutes late. Just wanted to make sure we have everything set up in the studio. So I'm really happy to be here today, and thank you all for joining in the live stream. So just a bit of intro. I'm Jaeriah. I am the Canadian chapter leader for Frontend Foxes and a front-end developer and designer at Commerce.js. We're kicking off our first ever Foxes Fireside Chat episode today. Thank you for joining across different time zones, taking time out of your weekends to be here. First off, I want to apologize in advance if we run into any technicality bumps today. This is my first time hosting a live stream like this. So just want to proceed by saying that. 2020, as we're all experiencing and as we all know, has not yet given us all a break. It really has been a trying year on all fronts. That's why I'm ever more grateful for having the web and platforms like these to let us all still stay connected as a community. Today, I will be joined by 4 amazing women across 4 different time zones who are part of Frontend Foxes and have had a diverse educational and career background before entering the tech field. So I can't wait to hear more about their stories in today's sessions. It was late last year that I was fortunate to have come across and be able to join the Frontend Foxes organization as a chapter leader. So I want to start off by giving a bit of intro of what this organization is. Let me just pull the slides up. So Frontend Foxes, it's an international organization founded by Jen Looper in 2018, who is with us here today. So that's really exciting. The organization promotes diversity and developer communities and creates and hosts workshops to teach front-end technologies to people who identify as women in a supportive and inclusive environment. We also manage a scholarship fund to help women attend technical conferences. So in today's session, we'll be sharing stories, experiences, insights, and tips on career transitions and non-traditional paths into tech. I want to share a bit of just an overview of the agenda that we'll be walking through today. So as soon as I wrap up the prelude, I can't wait to turn the mics over to our Frontend Foxes today to tell us a bit about who they are and their backgrounds. After that, we'll get right into the meat of today's session and have a panel Q&A discussion on today's topics. We'll then end off with an AMA's Ask Me Anything. So throughout the session, feel free to comment on the YouTube's comment section and tweet us with the hashtag Foxes Fireside Chats with your question. And lastly, we always love an excuse to give out swag. So tweet at us at Frontend Foxes on what your takeaways were from today's session and or what you would like to hear in the next series episode. And we'll pick someone at random to give away some Foxy socks. So now it is with pleasure that I turn the mics over to the Frontend Foxes joining us today. I want to kick off the first hybrid question and introduction for us to tell them who they are, their backgrounds, and what they did before transitioning to tech. So I will be adding them to the stream right now. Hi everyone. Hi ladies. Hi Jen. Hi Andrea and Annie. So first up, I want to introduce Jen Looper, none other than the Queen Fox herself. Jen Looper is the founder and CEO of Frontend Foxes. Jen, I would love it if you give us a brief intro of who you are, your background, and what you did before you entered the tech field.
Wow. Well, thank you. First of all, thank you so much, Canada chapter leaders, for just having the idea of doing this and just making it happen. I just love it. So great job. So yeah, my name's Jen Looper. I founded what was View Vixens several years ago, and now we've rebranded to Frontend Foxes to make to allow us to embrace a bit larger community. And currently, I am a cloud advocate lead on the academic team at Microsoft. So I have the privilege of working with this awesome group of cloud advocates. And we interface with educators and teachers and students of all types who are interested in learning about Azure. So that's my job during the day, doing a lot of moonlighting with Frontend Foxes. So I've been in tech for about 20 years as a developer, 6 of those or more at this point as a developer advocate. But before that, I actually have a PhD in French. So I am supposed to be a French teacher at this point. Didn't quite work out that way. Yada, 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 long story short, I switched careers in about 2000, 2001 and got into tech. The job market when I was leaving my PhD program and trying to find an academic job was really excruciatingly bad. I don't know if it's much better now, but I decided to make the jump and join the tail end of the .com boom. And I just had to retrain from absolute scratch, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Cold Fusion, and just work my way back up. So that's my story.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. It's I mean, you just never know really when all these paths kind of meld together, and then you end up where you are in the tech field. And it's amazing to hear everyone's stories about how much diversity there is coming in beforehand. Andrea, I would like to turn it over to you now to give us a bit of intro on your background before joining tech and what you do now.
Yeah. Hey everybody, I'm Andrea. I'm originally German, but at the moment I live in the Netherlands, in Breda. And my background is that I first did a bachelor in translation studies. So technically, like Jen, I have a language background as well. And during the end of the bachelor, I kind of already got a bit interested in tech, but I really wasn't sure whether it really was for me. But I decided to give it a try, and I found actually a master's program that did a mix of language studies, linguistics, and a bit of web technology in it. So there I first got in touch with tech, but it was very, very, on a basic level. It was very basic HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and a bit of PHP. But it was not on a level where I could really pursue a career in web development yet at that point. And I actually moved from Germany, where I studied, to the Netherlands at that point. And then I was looking for a job in my third language in a field that I had a lot of interest in, but only had very, very basic knowledge in. And I ended up finding a company that I actually did a traineeship with. And that's how I got into it more.
Thank you, Andrea. It's amazing to hear your story. In your path from Europe and in Europe, and how being in Europe, you have that open borders to really just have that option to choose your education and your majors and be able to have the opportunities to apply to bordering countries, wherever that may be. So it's amazing that you ended up in Holland, which is it's a beautiful country. I can't wait to get back on the other side of the pond once we're able and this is all over.
Please do.
Yeah, we're all some sense trapped where we are, but there's a whole silver lining to starting to enjoy the backyard that you're in. So Annie and I, we recently have been camping a lot more in our Canadian backyards. So it's it's great. So Annie, I would like to turn it over to you now. I know you came from a logistics and PM role before deciding to upskill, going back to school. So I would love to hear more about that.
Sure. So Hi everyone, my name is Annie. Currently, I work as a junior full stack developer at Bistro. It's a restaurant POS company. Really cool people there. Love working there. But before that, as Jaeriah also mentioned, I was working in logistics and a bit in like product management. And at some point, I was just like so stagnant with the career that like I saw like ahead of me, and I was like not like I realized that it's not like too exciting for me, and I started like looking. A bunch of my friends, they transitioned to tech, and I was like asking questions. I was curious, and like once I talked to my friend who is from Netherlands, and she's like, oh, like I hear about those like boot camps. I'm like curious about that, and like we kind of like decided to try it, like both of us. But like I didn't start with boot camp. I started like with like online courses on my own, just like to see if I even like it, because like I didn't have like any exposure whatsoever with like tech world. So yeah, like I started with HTML, CSS, just like basic JavaScript. And after maybe like half a year of like learning, I entered a bootcamp here in Toronto. It previously was called HackerU. Now I believe it's Juno. But yeah, I did the bootcamp. Then I got my first job in 3 months, I guess, after finishing that. It was not like the best experience. But now I'm pretty happy where I'm at. It's my second tech job. And yeah, looking back, I'm very happy that this position happened. And I really love what I'm doing. And every day is really exciting, challenging, life as a developer.
Yeah. Thank you, Annie, for sharing that. Yeah, a lot of what you all touched on sort of will lead into my next question. So I guess it's about at what point did you know you wanted to get into tech? I think a lot of us can agree that it was either we stumble upon the opportunity, it came up, and as we can see with the tech boom that's happened in the last 10 years, and amazing tools and platforms that have just come out through different periods, and really what is demanded, and what users need. So yeah, I can say personally, like for me, even coming in was just wanting to be challenged, wanting to be on this trajectory growth, knowing that I will continually grow. And that's just the very nature of tech, isn't it? That it's ever evolving. And, like things may change, like, what's the hottest platforms, frameworks, you're always on edge. And I think that's what pushes us, to keep going and progress. So I want to pose that to all of you as well. I want to pull up the questions here. So at what point did you decide to make the transition? And
I think it was kind of like a slow burn for me. I was finishing up my degree, my PhD. The job market was horrific. I was in third trimester with my first baby, trying to do interviews when you're big as a house, and that wasn't going so great. And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to try academic publishing. So I went and worked in a publishing house for a little while, and that ended really badly for me. I think that maybe that was at the moment where I decided I'm just going to throw away all of this, and I'm going to completely start from scratch. So maybe that was fulcrum. I would say the fulcrum was when I got fired from academic publishing 2 weeks before I had my second child. Fun times.
Annie, what?
Yeah, sure. I think it was like 2018. I was still working at my logistics job, and I started doing like courses online. Still doing that job, and like it felt like a big secret that like I didn't want to tell anyone, because like I was not sure if it was something I would like want to pursue, and like just like thought about like quitting the job and just like starting something new I'm not good at. It was so horrifying, but like at the same time it was so exciting for me. So I kind of like did like a slow transition. So I while still like being employed, I was doing courses, and then I took part-time courses that I could still like balance it out with my like day-to-day job. And then when I was like ready to make this leap, I just like quit my job. Everyone was like shocked because they didn't like even think that this could be like a thing I could do. I'm sorry, my dog is just like
I love it.
doing all sorts of stuff. But yeah, like it was yeah, it was like that. Like I chose it to be like very smooth and like not painful for myself. So I still had this like way out, I guess. But I'm glad that like it worked out the way it did.
Yeah. No, that's a great, that was a great plan that you had in place and a great strategy, because, maybe not all of us will have that, the flexibility of just, outright quit, unless you're sitting on a big cushion of savings. So that was a good move on your part. And Andrea, I'd love to hear from when you decided you wanted to take that leap.
I think it was, roughly towards the end of my bachelor's degree, actually, when I was kind of thinking, do I want to continue the path on becoming a full-time translator at the time, or do I want to stay in linguistics? Do I want to stay in academics? But even then, I didn't really feel the challenge of translation anymore. And I like to be challenged. That's actually one of the main reasons why I'm in tech. I get easily bored, and I need to keep getting mental input, and tech is just really ideal for that. And I think, at some point, I actually decided to make my bachelor's thesis more about tech as well. I tested translation software at the time and wrote about that. And that was roughly, I think, the moment when it dawned me that I wanted to go into tech. And then I started looking for corresponding master's degrees here.
Yeah. Like going back to my previous point, really is, maybe feeling at one point that what you're doing at the moment has become, stagnant and flat. And, maybe the industries aren't progressing enough as to, what your personal goals are and professional goals going forward. Then there comes a time where you're like, hey, I don't exactly fit in this bubble anymore. But honestly, I think we can all agree, maybe looking back, that maybe all the skills and all the paths that we have taken, somehow transferred and translated over to, with some sort of, domain value.
For sure.
Yeah. So that leads into my next question, actually. Do you think any of your previous work or educational experience or non-technical background translated over to tech? And, how do you think that benefited, maybe being, maybe you were in the food industry before and now you're working for a food platform, or, whatever it may be. I think there's always some sort of crossover.
I can go first. I can just say that for sure, the stuff, the business side of things, since I was involved in a bunch of business side stuff in logistics, I needed to find the best solutions that would benefit the company. The same with tech. Now we have to solve business related issues, the customer needs this, they want to perform that operation, and we need to find a way to do it. So definitely problem solving, business logic, and I would say detail orientedness. Yeah, just being a detailed oriented person is just it's easier to debug stuff when you have this eye for detail. I feel a lot of things that we a lot of traits that we get through the years of work experience and just regular life experience, it helps just forming a person that we are now, and just it can be easily transferred to practically any field. If it's not tech, then it can be something else, and it will still be beneficial, all the experiences we get.
Jen?
I'm gonna lay a bet that Andrea and I have the same idea that using that language skills always transfer, because JavaScript is what? JavaScript is syntax, and all of our linguistic knowledge kind of feeds into understanding the language. But for me, I'm actually really in a great place, but it's taken 20 years to get here, in that I'm now on the academic team and I'm back to teaching. So honestly, at this point, we are kind of adjunct faculty, back in school, back teaching, we're developing curriculum, we're talking to professors. And for me, it's like almost come full circle. But it's great to have had the experience of understanding how professors work, what they need, what they're thinking. And the other great thing is that, so my specialty was not just French, but it was Old French. So I'm a medievalist. So I was dealing with a lot of really ancient manuscripts. My specialty is 13th century prose romance. So if you have any questions, hashtag, no, just kidding. But the cool thing is that now at Microsoft, we have some liaisons with some really awesome museums and libraries. And I'm running the museums and libraries pilot in my department. So this has made me really, really happy. And it's kind of like finally, right? So working with really terrific cultural institutions but being able to speak to them on the level that they need has been a huge, huge plus for me this year. It took a little while, but got there eventually.
Amazing. Andrea?
Yeah, pretty much what Jen said and what Anne said combined.
What she said.
Pretty much on both sides. No, absolutely. There are a lot of similarities between like naturally spoken languages and programming languages, and I think that aspect totally helps. But also in translation, you need to focus on the detail, and you need to focus on getting your message across, and that sort of also translates, no pun intended, to programming, where you have to have a specific goal in mind, and you need to mentally plan ahead to get there.
Yeah, definitely agree. I think what we have to remember, and for anyone who has taken that leap or transitioned in, that all our skills from previous industries and jobs do transfer over, and we can't sell ourselves short. When we're thinking of applying and looking to places, like, of course, before coming in, we want to try to upskill, either whatever it may be, gain more experience and going back to school. But if you had a psychology degree before joining tech, that definitely is a great background to have, because essentially what we're doing is, creating tools and platforms that, is going to drill into the minds of every one of your users. Then this is a nice, smooth transition into, a lot of you already touched on, what were some of the steps that you took, but what do you think is important first and foremost when you're thinking about coming into tech? That what's the first thing that comes to mind, when you're job searching? Do you think networking is important? It's the first thing you're looking at updating your portfolio, maybe looking at doing internships right away, not having to go back for a formal training. So what do you think? What do you think helps when you're first looking into transitioning?
I think at least in my opinion, the most important thing to have is the right mindset. Because you need to be ready to just constantly keep on learning. This is not a field where you study and then you go work and you can basically do your 9-to-5 relatively mindless job and sometimes switch off your mind while you're sitting behind your desk. That's not how it works. And you have to continuously keep up to date with things, and you continuously have to keep learning. And networking definitely helps. Find a community. If you want, join Frontend Foxes, or find a different community that you like. That definitely helps with getting through the worst days that you sometimes have. Let's face it, not every day is shiny and bright and awesome, and having a community to back you up, to get you through the rough patches, is definitely helping.
Yeah, I would definitely like agree to that. Having people or a person who supports you, and having, because like it's not like always easy. There are like good days and bad days, especially like when you're looking for a job. It's like all the interviews I've been to are so different, and like some of them were so bad, and like I would come like out of the interview and I would be like in tears because like I felt so like worthless, and like I felt stupid, and like I was like punishing myself. Like I thought that like the problem was me, but then like I would go to another interview and it was like totally different, and I would feel so good and inspired. So just like, yeah, like don't give up, keep searching, apply. And like I applied like kind of like 2 times within like 1 year, because like I had to look for another job like within 4 months since I found the first one. And like the first time I applied to everything that came my way, just like all the job postings, I just like applied. But like the second time I was still like applying a lot, but I was like kind of like thinking, is this the company I want to work for? And if the answer was no, like I wouldn't apply even, because having this like bad first experience, like it gave me like almost no knowledge, but like it taught me a lesson. So yeah, just like a community of people, of like-minded people, um, no matter what, just like learn something. Like don't like waste this time while you're like job searching. Learn something else so you have like more stuff to add to your portfolio. Work on projects you're interested in. It will be like so exciting to talk about them on the interviews, and like interviewers love to see what you're passionate about, and like they would love to see not like a generic calculator, but something like you put your soul into. Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah,
For sure.
definitely.
Yeah.
And
I was just thinking, I'm thinking through my checkered career, like sifting through my resume in my mind and how I got those jobs. And it struck me that the first job I got was through a recruiter. So I worked with a recruiter who, was that the first job? Geez, it's been a long time, but it was at a big insurance company. So, and I suppose it depends on whether it's a big company, small company, or nonprofit. I worked at all of them. But the most of the other jobs after that first step were done by networking. We're done by knowing people in the roles and talking to people. And networking was done through, well, they used to be called user groups, some still are, but now it's meetups. Honestly, going and finding an awesome meetup in your local city, even during COVID, you know, there's still plenty of online opportunities to connect with people. And if there's no meetup near you, maybe you could start one. Maybe that's something that you could try to do to gather people around you. And then you have not only the community, but you have a leadership role within it. So there's a lot you can do. And honestly, in some ways, everything being online makes it a little easier, because I don't have to fight Boston traffic at 6:30 in the evening to get into the city and do a meetup, thank God. Which would have been especially difficult when I had little kids. But now you can just hop online and you do a Frontend Foxes meetup, and it's awesome. So network.
Yeah, network, I think is key. And, you know, maybe that's not always the first thing that comes to mind, but really it does come down to, you know, the community that you're in. You might not, you know, maybe a lot of the job opportunities aren't even posted online. And if, you know, you're in touch with someone who's working at a company, you know, you're reaching out to do, you know, sort of these Southside interviews to get more information before you apply.
Informational interviews is another thing.
Informational interviews, definitely. Like it's important to try to inject yourself in your local communities, online communities, and you know that could even be a safe ground to sort of be like, hey, is this where I want to be? Is this what I want to do? Start by, you know, doing tutorials, and one more thing that's really important is, you know, try to search up for low barrier entry to like contribute to open source, which is amazing to learn from, because you're looking at these code bases and projects that are maintained by developers, software developers from all over the world. So there's so many out there. I think there's quite a lot of resource websites that would list out different open source that might be a good one to start out with for newcomers. I know I learned a lot just from, you know, looking through code, be like, oh wow, like this is this is best practices of how I should, write out or program this way. So.
Yes, and Hacktoberfest is coming up. We're in September right now, but next Hacktoberfest. So start your engines, ladies. Let's commit.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's October coming up. Just still can't wrap my head around that.
Shout out to Anja in the comments. Anja in the comments looking for motivation. So please hop on our Slack anytime. Frontendfoxes.org. Click that Slack button, and you can connect with us. And maybe some of us could do some coaching and informational interviews at some time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it could be part of this. Yeah, for sure. So I have last core question here. And you all touched on this a little bit as well, but really just the last leading thoughts on what advice, if you were to give one advice, a tip, for people who are thinking of transitioning to tech, and then second would be, once you're in, how do you think that they can continue to add value to their career and progression? So that's the last leading question.
I can just
hop in. We're all chatting in a room right now.
I would say that definitely try it out first. There's so many online free resources. You don't have to jump into the bootcamp right away or go to the university. You don't have to do that. You can just try and see if you like it, and if you can try and message people from the industry who already work in tech and ask questions. And in my experience, people who work in tech, they're so eager to help you out. I'm always if any of my friends or friends of friends are wondering whether they should start this long journey or short journey, I don't know, it depends on the experience, but I'm always eager to share my experience and share the advice, because I've been there and I know how it feels, and I if I can make someone's life easier just a little bit, I'll be happy to do so. So just reach out, don't be shy, and try stuff out. You may want to do some Python, not web development, or you're interested in CSS and make really cool animations, and it's also awesome and so good. I've seen CSS animations that just blow my mind. They're so great.
That's true. I'm going to call out a conference that's coming up, which is called Start Dev Change. So if you go to startdevchange.com, it's drop the link. Well, I can't really drop the link, but maybe someone in YouTube can pull up startdevchange.com. It's for career switchers and people who are looking to get into tech. It's free. It's put on by folks in my department, and we're all going to be talking about things you can start looking at to jumpstart your career as a new person in tech. So there's really some good resources coming up. So this is coming soon. You might look at mentoring, finding a mentor. It's funny, but the very, very first internship I had was at a place called MentorNet, and they used to connect people with mentors. I'm still in contact with my mentor from my big insurance company, and I really always appreciate the way she helped me kind of figure out, console log.
Debugging. I think.
Go in there.
Yeah.
So
it's always a typo. It's always a typo.
And she would always come and tuck in my tag, because I usually have my tag sticking out, and she was tucking my tag. I always remember that. That's Irina. She was from Belarus, and she's amazing. But yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Over to you, Andrea.
I think I have much to add to that, actually.
One burning tip. Someone close to you, a friend, came and be like, "Hey, I love that you're in this career and you're so successful. You're doing so well. I would love to learn more about, and what advice would you give me?"
When you've got your first job, or when you first try out things, first of all, don't just try one thing, because as was already mentioned, there are so many varieties of coding, of programming, and of web development. And there are so many different subgenres in these that there is almost definitely something in there that you find interesting. And yeah, pretty much find the niche that makes you happy if you're interested in coding at all. And definitely do networking, and do not be afraid to ask questions, because honestly, I'm still struggling with that myself. I don't like asking for help, but it really, really helps. And generally, I have not found a programmer yet that was really grumpy or unwilling to answer a tech question that I had.
Mhm.
And you kind of just have to sometimes jump over your own shadow there at that point.
Yeah. I
There's
think a lot of that is what it is. It's it's that internal battle where we're like, oh, I don't want to be a bother, but you know what? Just bug your teammates, and it's extra important that if you have a mentor, sort of a buddy to work with, and that's your turn to person. But I think that's something that I'm still trying to get over. I'm always trying to work through a problem. I'll write out all my questions. I'll try to do a full day of research, and I'm like, okay, yeah, let's not waste any more time. But yeah, that's something that's a skill to have, to ask the right questions at the right time. After you've done, I feel like you've exhausted your efforts. So yeah, that's great. If any of you else have anything else to add to that, but otherwise, that sort of wraps up like the core questions that I have today for today's sessions. And
Yeah, I'm looking in the comments if anybody has questions.
yeah,
so to ask. If you want to rubber duck anything with us, that's another strategy.
Yeah, anything. Sorry, give me a second, Andrea. Yeah. So yeah, that leads us into our Ask Me Anythings. So if there are any questions rolling in, if not, that's fine too. You can always tweet at us after we wrap up, or hashtag. So
yeah, don't forget we've got socks to give away, people. I have so many
Yeah.
socks in the closet that is not even funny.
Yeah.
Help.
So questions, or anything you would like to see for the upcoming sessions, what your takeaways were from today. But we'll take any questions.
Jen, I just saw on YouTube. Could you share the link of the conference you just recommended?
I think Michelle did. So it's startdevchange.com.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to monitor it, but I'm not signed on to YouTube on my iPad, so I can't comment. So I'm not I don't want to be navigating all these things while we're all chatting. So
Michelle,
yeah.
Rubber ducking. Anybody want to talk about rubber ducking? Any good experiences rubber ducking with folks?
Yeah.
It's my
you have one.
I don't talk too much. But yeah, like that's the basically just like voicing out the problem you're having to a person, to an object, to anything, just like thinking out loud, or just like properly like stepping back and just like thinking it out loud again. And like sometimes when you talk it through, you can find an answer like right away. Or if it's a person, you can like have a discussion about this problem, and then like you can end up finding a solution. So it's just like sometimes we get like so like deep in our thoughts and like trying to like solve it, and like we forgot what the problem is. It's just like it's important to step back, I guess.
Yeah.
I like Andrea's expression, you have to step over your shadow. Is that I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah. I think that really helps. And, generally when you speak, you're always starting sort of in the broad spectrum, in the general scope. So if you're you're trying to design something, you're trying to work through this big program, and when you talk it out, you'll start, from the outer layers, and then you kind of work in. So that helps with kind of breaking your task out in chunks as well, is what I find. Like I've never actually done it. Like some of my colleagues do have rubber ducks, and when I was in school, they explained it to me. I'm like, interesting. I do mutter to myself from time to time when I'm, trying to digest something. So I don't think I need a rubber ducky. Like
I have several.
I talk to myself.
My cat is a very excellent listener.
Yeah.
I have several rubber ducks. Actually, none at work.
Several.
I bought like 1 or 2, and then people started getting wind of it and thought it was funny, and now I have like, I think 8.
Wow. Well, I have one that's my son's, which I'm not gonna steal. It's in his bathtub. It'll stay there. Yeah. Okay. Well, sorry, Jen.
So I was just going to ask on the chat, anybody actively on the job market and looking for tips? I know that Anja said that she had 2 interviews and they went really badly, and because of Corona, there's not been a lot of opportunities for her at the moment. It's definitely, the job market is kind of very depressed right now, I think. But in terms of interviews going badly, I have stories that would make your hair curl. Like I think everyone in tech has had horrific interviews, but also some good interviews. I remember one interview I had where a manager, he just stopped and he's like, "What's the last book you just read?" So we started geeking out on literature, and that was a good interview. I got that job.
Culture fit. Yeah.
So sometimes it'll click, and I'm sure Anja, it will click for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I always heard stories where people are like, "Oh, just apply to any position," and sometimes you're just like such a perfect culture fit for them, they would like hire you. I always thought like at the back of my mind, I was like, "Oh, like this is not like true. Like if they're looking for an intermediate, like what are the chances they're gonna hire a junior?" But then like I was like myself in the position where I came for an interview, and like I was obviously a junior and everyone knew it, and they were looking for an intermediate or senior, and I was not like feeding into the skill level they wanted. And yeah, I guess like I was just like the type of person they would want to hire, and yeah, they kind of like made me a tiny spot, and yeah, it's just like this happens, and yeah, I can prove that. So it's really good. You can just find the company that has like similar values as you do, who are like all about like inclusivity, who like are willing to grow you as a person with like in the company as a developer, who has like resources for you to learn and like grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a two-way street on interviewing. You're interviewing the company just as much as they're interviewing you.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You're investing all your time, into the team, into the company. So,
Tuni has an interesting comment here. Jaeriah, do you wanna?
Yeah. So we have a question from Tuni. Any tips on how to transition from junior level to more senior positions? I feel like I'm not a junior anymore, but not experienced enough. What kind of jobs should I apply to, and how should I sell myself?
I'll tell you what works for me, and this may not work for everyone, so I'm not going to recommend it as a panacea, but my side projects actually helped get me my job several times. And I know that this is kind of controversial because a lot of folks are like, you don't want to be working 24/7. You don't want to be just obsessed with your side projects, especially if you have little kids. But I was able to show my portfolio and talk about that, especially when I wanted to really double down on mobile development. So I could just show them, look, I have 20 apps in the App Store. I think it would work for you, that kind of thing. So that helped me a bit. If it works for you, that's what worked for me.
Andrea, any?
Yeah, like I don't think I can like yet speak to that. I'm still in the position of a junior. Like I would say like I know more than a junior, but like I don't feel like an intermediate yet. So I think I'll have to ask this question to myself, like when I'm looking to transition to a more senior role. I feel like some companies like are not that great in like promoting their like employees within the company. So like other ways could be just like look for an intermediate job in some other company, and like the definition of a junior or like an intermediate or senior, it like varies from company to company. Like there's no like clear like understanding what it is like to be a junior. Some juniors in my company are so smart, like I wouldn't think they are juniors, but it's just like the way company like kind of like it's
well, the hard lines on to differentiate.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, like if you don't see like any opportunity, like if you talk to your like boss on the review and you don't see that like it's going anywhere, then like maybe it's time to just like try and look and make a jump like in some other company.
Yeah, I definitely can attest to that. Yeah, I'm fairly new in my role in the company that I'm in. I'm in a startup, and I think it's, we're a small team, and coming in, I've never, been given, like really from the start, I was set up to create my own professional development plan. And I actually had a chat about this with my colleague the other day. I'm like, hey, at what point, I want to be able to quantify and be able to measure my progression. At what point should I feel that I'm, leaping out of a more newer junior position, going to intermediate. And, the one thing he said was really at that point where you can start to sort of look at something head on, and, be able to like just architect out the solution in your head, and then to be able to execute it as well. So I think that's sort of something good to measure. And yeah, maybe not be as nervous and not be so much in like the unknown space, because right now it's that, double-sided, like unknown unknowns. I don't know what I don't know. That's why it's so. Yeah, I hope you can all agree to that as well when starting out, right? Like it's a double layer. It's painful, but eventually you come out of that tunnel, and then you might be able to pinpoint what you don't know, and that's when the research skills come in, and then the execution stage comes in, right?
Yeah.
So
I would mention that some larger companies, including ours, has the concept of a career ladder. So, and it's interesting if you want to sort of poke around and see if you can find career ladders from various companies of various sizes and see, because we always say, and I'm a people manager at Microsoft, so this comes up a lot, you need to be performing at that next level before you're being considered for that promotion. So you need to have a clear concept of where you are on the career ladder and where the next step up is, and angle yourself toward performing at that level. So that's kind of the advice. But that's a giant company scenario.
Yeah.
So I think the smaller companies won't necessarily have the career ladders, but still it's interesting and it might apply.
Mm-hmm.
So.
On the other hand, maybe not on a as refined level at bigger companies, but I think technically every tech company should have a concept for that kind of level, because especially developers like to grow and they like to know also career-wise, where are we going?
Yeah.
And if that is not clear at the company where you're working at, then ask.
Yeah.
And if you repeatedly maybe don't get answers at all, or answers that you're happy with, then maybe do consider switching companies.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, especially in the current situation, I'm not gonna say do it right away. Absolutely not. But be proactive about it and ask about it.
Mm-hmm. Take that initiative and ownership.
Yeah, definitely.
You have to own your own, progression. If you're coming to a company, you got to be like, hey, this is where I want to be in a year's time, in 6 months' time, and I want to know if there's any support that I can have.
For sure.
So I think that's very important.
Levi has a very leading question here, which is, I really want to find a web project to do it with some people to get together at my free time. It's a good way to practice our web skills, but I don't know how to find it. Hello, Hacktoberfest. Have we got the web project for you? So we are looking to redo our website at frontendfoxes.org with Vue 3. I have put the seed code up there. It's all tagged Hacktoberfest. And it is so ready for everyone's help. Anyone can help us with this. And I'm looking for PRs because I want to ship this thing. So let's get going on this. So I await your PR, Levi. So let's get going. Thumb screws on.
Yeah, open source. Really, open source is it's now that we can all attest to it. It's like. I mean, you just have access to all these code bases to learn from. You have maintainers that I hope are friendly to newcomers coming in, but most of them are. To learn from and review your PRs, like that's golden. So
don't get intimidated. Sorry. No, go ahead.
No. I think I was
all right.
I was trailing off.
With open source, don't get intimidated by it either. Because I think a lot of, especially juniors, are really, really intimidated, especially if they're looking at projects that they might want to contribute to, but they get intimidated because it's a huge code base. Start small. Fix something tiny. Fix some
comments, documentations, anything.
Definitely. Just get your feet wet and get started and ask the maintainer if you have questions. There's always... all developers are people and they want to help you in the end, and that's the whole concept of open source, that you want to make something better and that you want it to be accessible. And they will not tear your head off. They will not be angry if you ask questions. Just try.
And it goes both ways, even for contributors. Have the patience that if you're contributing for the first time, or if you've been contributing, to have the patience, because these maintainers, like a lot of the times, these are their side projects as well, right? So that's why it's such a beautiful thing to contribute to OS, because it's a community. It's a community coming together to scale a tool, a product. Like documentations, like I've been on documentations and tutorials at my current job, and I can't say enough how much I've learned just to be able to, like we had a whole overhaul of our APIs and our docs, and just be able to go back and write about them. And I think it's a very unique space, me being in it, because I'm learning about our product and tool for the first time, be able to write about it. So I learned a lot, just from doing that. So safe and maybe an easy entry to start would be documentations in OS. Like, hey, you're missing a doc block, you got to comment this.
Or if you just fix a typo, it doesn't matter.
It just feels good to get your PR merged. Like, like a semicolon, whatever.
Anja has an interesting comment. What is your favorite resource to keep up with the field? Maybe this can be our final. Terrific question.
I have the going back to like having a professional development plan and educational background when I first educational budget when I first started. I've been hearing about front-end masters, and I think it's just some golden content on there, from engineers, from big kind companies, startups that are putting up content and tutorials to teach all front-end tools and technologies. So it's great content. So I urge anyone to check that out. But documentations as well. Really, you want to learn React, you want to learn Vue, which are, I would say, are the gold standard really for docs. Those are usually the resources that I read up on.
I think because I'm in a certain age group, Twitter has always been my kind of scary go-to for folks who are, shipping things and talking about things. And we follow enough really terrific tech people on various social medias who get really good information. It's relatively ad hoc, so that's not a very disciplined way to educate yourself. So I also try to keep up with the articles on Dev2. Dev2 is a great place where a lot of front and some back end folks are writing nice tutorials.
Yeah, Jen just mentioned everything I wanted to mention. So definitely, like Twitter, follow people who are in tech, follow people who you like, who are in the field. Like, for example, like Dan Abramov, like React person right there. Just like he posts like whenever they have like something new, or like, yeah, like all the news are there. Definitely DevTO. Yeah, just like I kind of like followed the people who are in the industry, and like Wes Boss, and like all the people who do courses and stuff like that. And like reading documentation did not work for me like very well when I was just starting, because like I was staring at this like pages and pages of like stuff, and I couldn't like make sense of it. But like now, since like I'm working with it, like it's easier. When I was like a beginner, definitely like maybe find a course that explains stuff more in detail, find someone who knows how to explain stuff in the way you understand. Yeah, like I feel like documentation is stuff for someone who's already in the field and just like wants to keep
Definitely.
up. But for new people in tech, definitely like find your content creator and just like follow him or her. Yeah.
Follow everybody on this.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
But actually follow Dan Abramov, because if you're going to follow one person on Twitter, follow Dan Abramov.
Oh yeah. Should we take this one last question, and we'll wrap it up. So this question from Tuni is, we all come from different backgrounds, sometimes not tech related. When you started showing interest in coding, did people discourage you in any way? How do you overcome that?
Like definitely, I feel like I was the person who discouraged myself, because like I was like constantly, there was like this little voice in the back of my head just like saying, oh, like this is not for you, it's like it's complicated, a lot of things, oh math, oh logic. But then like you kind of like, if you have, as we discussed, like a community to support you, and like maybe someone like in your family or like in your group like of friends who just like believe in you no matter what, yeah, it just like it gives you so much like energy to just like move forward. And yeah, I feel like no one like discouraged me per se. Like whenever people that like whose opinion did not like matter to me, if they would say something I wouldn't notice, but people who I was like close friends with or my family, they were like, you can do it. So I guess I was lucky in that sense.
Yeah. I had the same experience. My husband was always extremely supportive. He pushed me to get into tech, because he always thought the medieval French thing was just kind of. Yeah, and don't let the turkeys get you down. I mean, there's plenty of people who have very strong opinions. You know, there's that block button on Twitter. Don't feel, you're not going to hurt anyone by using it. Go ahead.
Very good feature, definitely.
Yeah. I would say really the biggest enemy is ourselves and what's internal. Just gotta overcome that.
Absolutely.
Be okay with not being okay, and having to go through the challenges and the humps. Just know that this is part of anything natural when you're learning something new and coming into something new for the first time. Be comfortable with that learning path.
Yes, absolutely.
You're gonna be on this curve for a while before
And the more you learn, the more you realize there is tons of stuff you don't know, and just
so true.
Get intimidated by that.
Yeah. And we have an emotional support channel on our Frontend Foxes Slack, so you can always come and chat with us.
Yeah. Definitely. Very good for venting or just needing support. And definitely recommend.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll wrap up the questions, from the comment section. So thank you everyone for writing in your questions. I want to just pop this in. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. I hope it was smooth for everyone. any technical glitches. Sorry, let me just remove that.
Thank you to the Canada chapter for a beautiful presentation. I'm learning StreamYard. This is awesome.
Yeah,
That's
streaming.
IRL.
Yeah, streaming is the way to go.
It's so cool.
2020.
Thanks, Jaeriah. That was amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll wrap this video up, and like I said at the end, we want to give out these socks. We have a lot of socks. Winter is coming. First thing that get cold feet. Got some Foxy socks. So tweet hashtag at Foxes Fireside Chat, or tweet us at Frontend Foxes to tell us what your takeaways were from today, or any ideas you want to hear for upcoming episodes.
Yeah.
Let's
do it again.
I can't wait. I want this to be an ongoing series. It'll be fun, and it's really a way to connect with all of you. We haven't all yet met in person. I can't wait to be able to start attending conferences when the time is right, and we'll all come out of it.
Fantastic. Thanks, everyone.
So we'll say bye to everyone. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yeah, enjoy soon. Bye.
Cheers. Bye. I think we're still live.
Should we just leave?
Nobody knows.
Sorry, I have to end the broadcast. I just popped back in.
It's like a blooper reel.
So I gotta end the broadcast. Okay, bye again.
Bye.